We apologize for interrupting your play session of Street Fighter 6 and or Diablo 4 to bring you an episode of a Slice of Gaming podcast. I'm your host, Moonlight150. Joining me today on this episode is the Uncharted Wolf.
Hey, what's up?
Dark.
Hey, how's it going?
Bench.
Hi, excited to be here.
And you may notice we are down one person this week, Fusion rated. Even though the show has only been going on for 2 weeks, he's already requested time off, so lazy ass. But he'll be here in, I believe, 3 weeks to rejoin us after the Xbox showcase and the Ubisoft showcase, so he can fanboy all over that podcast episode. So anyway, let's move on to the news, as we're going to go over some topics like everybody's new favorite game, Everybody 1-2 Switch, some new Spider-Man details, some more background into Redfall, and a couple other small stories beyond that. So take over the news, Wolf.
Thank you so much for handing it over to me. I do want to mention real quick, you can find us on both YouTube and Spotify. Please like the podcast. We're a new upcoming podcast. It really helps us out. But as for the news, we actually have a really slow news week, which is actually very convenient for us considering the last two. The very first news story, I could not believe this headline when I saw it. Nintendo has announced everybody's 1-2 Switch. This comes from Nintendo of America over on Twitter. Everybody 1-2 Switch is coming to Nintendo Switch on June 30th. Pre-order now. And what a game. If you guys do remember, Imran Khan over at Fanbyte actually broke a story about this game. The 1-2 Switch sequel, June 7th, 2022. So almost a year to date. Right here, we get some explanation here. The idea on paper was solid. Nintendo EPD Group 4 designed a host for minigames based on the international appeal. A bipedal horse that looks like a man wearing a rubber horse mask. The game's text simply referred to him as horse because it sounded enough like the English word host that it would come across in different languages. Minigames would ask players to physically move around the environments for things like musical chairs, or use their phone to play bingo. There was even a game that resembled a virtual version of Spin the Bottle that involved saying something nice about another person. It tested horribly. When playtesting groups received the game, the feedback to the development team was brutal. The target audiences Nintendo was hoping to hit, families with children, found the games boring. Many didn't even want to play through the entire round. In the bingo example, one player would use a Joy-Con to mime digging out a number before reading it off the TV screen, a process that playtesters reported as tedious. And we also got some box art. And let me tell you, if you have not seen this box art already, it is majestic, to say the least.
It's a trip.
Yep, we got the horse. The horse report was true, thank God. I guess just to top it all off, what do you guys think of this? This just came out of nowhere this week.
I think that it's very obvious that Nintendo's just shoving this out. They have no confidence in it. I mean, no trailer, hardly any details. Right after Tears of the Kingdom, $30. I don't think they have much confidence in it. I think it's just going to suck and be forgotten very fast.
I think after Tears of the Kingdom, they don't give two shits anymore. They just put it out. It's just done. They're like, there's no point in sitting on this.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Bench there. This just feels like kind of a let's throw it out there, see if it can get some type of sales record. Maybe it does well. I kind of doubt it. 1-2 Switch didn't. It only really sold well just because it was a launch title. It was the only other game to play other than Zelda when the Switch first came out. And this game just does not really look appealing at all. What do you think, man?
Like everyone's saying, it's an obvious. Okay, you guys are all distracted by Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, oh, like here's Everybody 1-2 Switch. We need to get this out there because we spent some money on it, but we're going to spend absolutely no money on marketing and just recuperate whatever money we can get from customers of, like, just dumb casuals who are like, oh, 1-2 Switch. Here's the next one. Ooh, let's buy it. So yeah, it's crazy. It's $30. They're throwing it on the eShop. Granted, there's also a physical release, so they have some faith in it a little bit. Probably because the more casual audience, I bet, buys more physical than digital. I'm willing to bet. But yeah, and the fact that it comes out in less than 30 days from its announcement is just reeks of, especially the no trailer and no screenshots at launch. It's just here's the Nintendo eShop page, pre-order now. Yeah, there's absolutely no faith in this, and it is really curious. As you said, it's almost exactly a year to the date since Imran's reporting. So it makes you wonder that extra year plus however long Imran's information was before we posted that. Like, did they spend any of that time trying to make this game work.
I doubt it. I heavily
Make this
doubt
game
it.
more appealing.
Maybe they like. Go ahead, Dirk.
Oh, as I said, they're obviously taking inspiration from Square Enix in their tactics of this title.
Just throw it
No
out there,
marketing
see if it
whatsoever.
sticks. See if it sticks, man.
I'm waiting for
I did
fail to meet expectations.
I did find it interesting, the idea of the just random Twitter drop. Do you guys think this implies that we're not going to get a direct this month?
I wouldn't say it implies that. However, I'm already under the impression we're not getting a direct this month anyways.
If Nintendo announces some other game, like maybe not like a giant game, but like maybe some like mid-size exclusive, like a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 kind of level kind of game, and like in the next week or so, I'd say probably there's no direct. But this honestly just does feel like, okay, it's June 1st. We're gonna throw this thing out the world June 30th. Let's just get this thing out of here. I feel like this is just an outlier to the prediction of a Nintendo Direct because it's a game they probably have no faith in. Very few people are looking forward to. So I think we can't judge a Nintendo Direct validity based on this. I think if something else gets announced like in the next week, then we can probably predict that. But I think this is just such an oddity of a release that we can't base anything off this.
Yeah, I think if you see the next Mario Kart 8 Deluxe booster pack courses on Twitter, then that kind of basically
something like
showcases
that.
There's no direct. Yeah, no, I don't really think there's going to be a direct mainly because of this, because this just feels like something they could have just thrown in the direct, and it being on Twitter kind of shows me that there isn't going to be a direct. Because I feel like Nintendo has a weird thing of like thinking all their games are big enough to be in a direct, and when they just do a Twitter drop like this, it pretty heavily implies to me that, yeah, we're not going to have a direct. At least that's my reading of the situation. But who knows? I'd like to be proven wrong. I'd love to have a direct, but I think the next one's probably going to be September. I don't know about y'all.
Well, it's so far away since the last one.
I think we could get a mini. I think maybe a Pikmin.
Yeah, we get a mini or like a partner showcase.
Yeah,
but I also don't think we get I don't think we get anything in June though. I think if anything, that's July or August.
Yeah, that kind of tells us though that Nintendo's second half is going to be pretty light this year. It's just going to be Pokemon DLC
and 4.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, now that's going to carry it. Pikmin 4. I don't know. Maybe there's something else, but it kind of just feels like they want to have Zelda as their big game this year, and then just like kind of coast off Zelda for the rest of the year until the new Switch comes out next year, which I'm still predicting.
I'm fine with the lighter year.
Mario.
I'm fine with the lighter year because there's already so much to play. I don't need anything else.
Yeah, but I'd always like to. There's always good to have more games, but yeah,
it's nice to just have games release and just sit there and be like, okay, I'll get to that soon, eventually.
Yeah, same.
How's your backlog like?
Oh man. Well, I guess that's really all we have to say on everybody's 1-2 switch.
I will say one thing. One last final thought. I do like the direction it's going because it's definitely very heavily, at least from what we can tell, it's very heavily inspired by how Jackbox Games does stuff with the whole, you can use your Joy-Con, but here's also your option with a phone. So they're definitely going in the right direction what this game should be, but it just sounds like all the ideas they came up with just don't seem to be very good or interesting. I don't know. And the fact that, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but it sounds like I read somewhere that it's local only, which is like a huge misstep, especially if they're going the Jackbox, if they're going the Jackbox route.
Yeah, that is a very big negative if that's the case. I thought like maybe it would be fun if like one person takes one for the team, buys it, and then we all just kind of screw around with it. But if it's local only, then that's a massive.
Well, then we all have to go to Wolf's house and to play there, and no one wants to do that.
If I'm being honest, if they had any ideas or plans to make a Jackbox type of game, this game is dead in the water. Like the plans are done.
I mean, I could see a Jackbox style Nintendo game working. It's just, why would you go with something like 1-2 Switch as the IP? You have so many IP. Like, what do you need the rubber horse? It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know.
The rubber horse also just confirms like a running joke I see a lot on like Reddit and Twitter that Nintendo's like meme culture awareness is always like 5 years late. Like that rubber horse mask thing is like from 5 or so years ago when everyone on TikTok and Vine was using that thing.
No, that
So
was like
it's-
even older. Like that was like Harlem Shake era, like 2014.
Oh God, don't remind me how much time has gone by.
Oh man, that was a good time, Harlem Shake era. All right, I guess that's really it for everybody's 1-2 switch. Thankfully, we don't have to think about it too much. I hope. Next story, Redfall. We all heard of Redfall. We all know Redfall. We all hate
Unfortunately.
Redfall. It's been about a month since its release. Actually, a month to the day. The day we're recording this. The game was just not good, and a lot of people wondered how it even got out. How did Xbox allow it? And Jason Schreier basically kind of put the last bullet in. If you see the Schreier article go in on a game, that's how you know like the game's just kind of out of the news cycle. No one's going to be thinking about it anymore, because now we're getting the final showcase of like what everything went down. This comes from Jason Schreier over on Bloomberg. He talks about how Redfall had a failure, everything there, and then quote right here. But to the makers of Redfall, the mediocre reception was no big surprise. The project suffered from unclear direction, frequent attrition, and a perennial lack of staff, according to more than a dozen people who worked on the game. Speaking anonymously, but because they were not authorized to discuss it publicly, a spokesperson for Redfall's publisher, Bethesda Softworks, declined to comment. Development of Redfall began in 2018. At the time, ZeniMax, the large privately held owner of Bethesda Softworks, was looking to sell itself. Behind the scenes, the company was encouraging its studios to develop games that could generate revenue beyond the initial sales, a popular trend dubbed games as a service, which was taken off in the late 2010s thanks to lucrative hits like Overwatch and Fortnite. According to people familiar with the process, ZeniMax was strongly urging developers at its subsidiaries to implement microtransactions, that is, recurring opportunities within gamers for players to spend real money, say outfitting their characters. Although this wasn't an absolute mandate, several ZeniMax franchises such as Fallout, Doom, and Wolfenstein would soon release new versions incorporating online multiplayer and monetization options. At Arcane's headquarters in Austin, Harvey Smith and Ricardo Bear, respected industry veterans, were tapped to serve as co-directors of Redfall, following the commercially unsuccessful release of its sci-fi shooter Prey a year earlier. Leadership across the company wanted to make something more broadly appealing, what eventually emerged from the idea to make a multiplayer game in which users would team up and to battle vampires and perhaps pay for occasional cosmetic upgrades. I strongly recommend reading the whole article. Shreier was actually nice enough to allow you to read the article for free if you go on to his Twitter. He also adds this was in the article, but he also tweeted this. Arcane was always understaffed, but on Redfall, attrition also became a significant problem. By the end of Redfall's development, a whopping 70% of Arcane Austin's developers who worked on Prey were no longer there, according to people familiar, as well as a Bloomberg analysis. So I guess to start it off, this seems to be mainly a thing that it started off as a games as a service. I think a lot of people were inclined to believe that, especially with how the game looked, felt, played. It just kind of screamed initial games as a service. And it seems to be very much more of a ZeniMax type thing, but we can also put some blame on Microsoft for not going in, stopping anything. I don't know. That's my read on the situation. Bench, how about you? How do you feel?
Yeah, I think the game was very bad, and I think now all the reasons that are said are kind of things you can kind of read between the lines of problems during development. So I don't think much of it's super surprising, but like the 70% and the attrition problem, that's just you're never probably gonna get like a Prey 3 or whatever. You're never gonna get the Arcane of Arcane Austin is probably gone. You're never gonna see that team do something of their past magic again because people really don't have much there anymore because all the people, 70% of people left. And then,
Yeah, from what go ahead.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of a shame, but also you have to wonder with Phil saying, like letting people work on what they want to work on. Obviously, nobody wanted to work on this. So where did that come from? And like this should have been canceled. Right as Microsoft bought Bethesda, they should have like gone through all the studios, see what they were working on, and they should have seen Redfall and say this isn't going to work because it was probably very obvious at the time and just canceled it.
Yeah, for context on that 70% attrition thing, apparently at one point there was less than 100 people working at Arcane Austin, which is not nearly enough people to sustain a AAA game, especially to what they were looking for, the size of Destiny and whatnot. Dark, what about you? How do you feel?
Going on to Bench's comment that Microsoft should have canceled it, we don't really know how that contract was. It's possible that Microsoft in the contract had it so that they wouldn't touch any games that they already started in production. But this game, like, it feels like they were trying something, and it did not go anywhere they foresaw, even close, and it's just a fucking mess and a half.
Pretty
There's not really
crazy
much
that
else
it
to say
started
about it.
development. It's pretty crazy that it started development in 2018 because it is 2023, and that is like 4.5 years probably since around there. So that's just pretty nuts to think about.
It doesn't feel like a game that spent almost 5 years in development, I guess.
Granted,
Like,
probably cut that in half because of COVID.
Yeah, that's a good
Sure.
point. But also,
There are
I mean, go ahead.
there are better games on Roblox than Redfall that have taken much less time to develop. I don't know what happened with that game ever itself.
Moon, what about you?
It's not surprising. Like there was that like smell, I guess you can say that like, oh yeah, was clearly something at one point, and then it kind of became another thing at some other point. There was like this awkward transition period that it never left, and it's very evident in the is this a game as a service or is this a game with just multiplayer games as a service qualities to it? And I think they just got lost in the shuffle. And yeah, just hearing those numbers of just that, it just sounds like development hell. And I feel sorry for all those developers that clearly wanted to put out something. And the basic idea of Redfall is a good thing. It's just obviously they just never, and this never came to fruition. Like a
That's
live service game of a let's go hunt vampires and be, this group of weirdos with powers and machines and all that. It's a cool idea, but yeah, it's just poor management and execution.
That's what's so interesting is that I remember reading about how like Redfall was almost a passion project from Arcane, but then you read this article and it's like no one wanted to work on this game. No one had any passion for it because it had no real vision, and it's insane to me just how ZeniMax would allow this game to even like continue development, and then Microsoft, they have overseen and Dark, of course, like your point to what maybe they didn't have the ability to cancel development, but like they could have at least influenced, they could have said something like, hey, this game does not look good. It's clearly negligence on both parties in that regard. It's just a whole shitstorm. I hope that we could just be done with it and like actually start. Hopefully Arcane Austin can recover. At this point I don't think so. I mean, do you guys think they can get
Completely
past
agree.
this?
No.
It depends if they was like, okay, we're gonna try another live service game, but now they could probably win us back with another really good single player game. But it just seems like so many studios are just trying to be like, oh, we got to jump on this live service thing now because we're seeing that with PlayStation. So now we're seeing it with this. I feel like this is the first of probably a string of a bunch of studios that are known for their single player games. They're going to try this live service thing. It's going to fall flat on its face because they're like, well, this isn't what we usually make. But we had to make this because these studios need a constant flow of cash. So I guess it just depends on how well they're managed. And I'm pretty sure developers who now have experience making stuff like Fortnite, Overwatch, whatever, any kind of successful live service game are probably going to be like rarities now. Like they're going to want to hire these people. Like, how do we make this? How do we manage this live service game? So that's going to be like a thing going forward because these companies obviously want these big hit games that are a constant flow of income.
I'm not gonna let you get away with saying Overwatch was a successful live service.
It was at the beginning.
Oh man, I don't know
It
about
launched
that one.
well. It launched well.
Oh, do you remember that launch? That launch was disastrous. It felt like
I can't remember.
yeah, there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot of players, but like there was like problems
Watch
every
was a
single
mistake.
day. Hey man, you know what? I spent over 1,000 hours in Overwatch. I'm inclined to agree with you.
It was a mistake.
I mean,
they haven't lived enough.
It's honestly interesting to think about just how much influence, if you really think about how much influence Destiny had on the industry. You could say for better or for worse. I say just purely for worse. I mean, all these live service trends, it's just frustrating to see companies, that are so good at making single player games forced to make these multiplayer live service games that they're not used to. And it's not even like a talent issue. It's just that you are telling a company, like a game studio, hey, you know that thing you're really good at? Don't do that. Do something that you've never done before. Of course it's not going to go well the first time or the second time. It's a whole new venture.
Next question is going to be: is Factions going to be the next string of these just live service games from single player development studios that are just going to fall flat on its face because that's not what they usually make?
Here's my theory for Factions. I think the gameplay is gonna. I think the game's actually gonna be really good and like fun. I don't know how much its legs are gonna be.
It's not
'Cause I
going to
do
have
think
staying
it'll come
power. Yeah.
That's the struggle. Everyone wants a Fortnite and a Destiny, but the thing that to learn about Fortnite and Destiny is that they have developers pretty much on the clock, consistently outputting content like every single month. Arguably, it feels like every single week at this point. They basically have to support the game like an MMO, and a lot of these companies just aren't used to that. And I don't blame them. It's a difficult venture, but all these execs think, oh well, it's easy, just put out a live service, support it for like 10 years, and then go on to the next one. It's like, no, it's not that simple.
I just feel like Exoprimal is actually probably going to be the next thing. Like, it's actually got solid gameplay and it's interesting, but the problem is it feels like just the game's going to have absolutely no legs. Like they tease what the battle pass is. It's literally all cosmetics, and I don't think keychains and colors for your robot skin are going to carry a game for a good year or two, or even 3 years. So it's I don't know. I'm hopeful for Exoprimal because I like the concept. It's unique. It's different, and I hope there's cool game modes because I'm sure they'll add game modes and whatnot. But I just fear that game is just not going to have any kind of leg. So I'm just going to enjoy it while it's at its peak at launch, and just enjoy for the month until I move on to the next thing because I have no faith in it for the long run.
In Capcom's
Yeah,
defense, they have not missed, not once, like whatsoever. So I believe that's
counterpoint. Have you done any of the Resident Evil multiplayer modes? Because man, those are
okay.
atrocious.
I take back what I said. Besides those moves, they have not missed whatsoever.
Yeah, Capcom is hitting on all cylinders for their single player stuff.
Yeah, it's just they want that multiplayer IP. They're
Well,
struggling
with
with that
multiplayer, they
regard.
didn't really make the multiplayer, if I remember. I could be wrong, but I don't.
Oh,
I think
no,
they hired a different team.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't internally developed. I think it was made by a.
Okay,
I think it was a Chinese
still
team.
has a chance.
We can hope. I hope that's good. I still think that game should have been called Dino Crisis. Like, I just think, I don't know. Just go ahead and put the name.
Just Dino
Saving that for the
Crisis,
remake.
like live or whatever. Just throw on a
Like,
subtitle.
There's dinosaurs. It's a crisis. I mean, what's there? There's not much to
Dino
sell there. I
Crisis
don't
Revive.
know. Anyways, I'm just ready
Dino
to
Crisis
stop.
Reloaded.
Man, I am done talking about live service games. How about we talk about a brand new single player game on the horizon, Spider-Man 2. This is the last of the big stories. Not much of a big story. We just kind of needed a third big story. I think there's enough to talk about here. This comes over from Shinobi over on Twitter. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 details. The demo from the PlayStation Showcase was from an earlier build. Balanced between lighthearted and darker story, Symbiote suit will have a serious impact on Peter. Instantly switch between Peter and Miles in the open world. Twice the size of the original, includes Queens and Brooklyn. And Shinobi got this all from interviews over on Eurogamer, IGN, Gamatsu. I recommend reading them. They are very insightful. And I mean, this just got me even more excited for this game. Spider-Man 2 is definitely my most anticipated game at the moment. I loved Spider-Man 2018. I love Miles Morales. Maybe a little less so, but I still had a great time with it. And, what you were saying about Capcom never missing, that's kind of my opinion on Insomniac at the moment. I think they are easily one of the best game studios in the market. They're consistent, they're fast, and you can feel that strong management over there. I'm excited for this game. Bench, how do you feel? I know you're a Spider-Man fan.
Yeah, everything about this seems very positive. I mean, the demo definitely, obviously earlier because it's a showcase. They probably had to submit whatever they were showing months ago. So that's obviously way later ago than for that. And then the twice the size of the original is pretty nice because we've had two games in the same New York, so some new locations are very welcomed. Instantly switching between Peter and Miles is very cool. I mean, we saw it in the showcase, so that was very good. Symbiote suit, serious impact on Peter, pretty obvious, which is still cool in a darker story. Balance between lighthearted, but I do expect a darker story, which is going to be fun.
Yeah, I think that twice the size of the original is actually really exciting to me. Having Queens and Brooklyn there, I mean, I love that map in the original game, but I always thought it's like, man, I really want to go to Queens, and there we go. Now we're finally going to go to Queens. Dark, how do you feel? I know you don't own a PlayStation, but you do keep up with it. How do you feel?
Yeah, I keep up. It just feels like what a sequel should be. Like, I don't want to be that. Like, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but like, I feel like these are things that you would expect in a sequel of a game of this caliber, and it's good to see that they're there.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot. It's just nice to see that all these details. Like, it's exciting to know that Spider-Man 2 is going to be a good game. At least from what we could see, Insomniac has not missed. I have full faith that this is going to hit. Moon, how about you?
Insomniac? Oh my bad.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that Insomniac is PlayStation's Monolith Soft, where because for Nintendo, Monolith Soft has been carrying them the entirety, and Insomniac has been doing the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely a take. Moon, how about you?
Oh yeah, it just sounds like everything I've been wanting to hear. Obviously, there was that fear of, I mean, it's New York, it's semi-realistic. So obviously, how do you expand upon that? It's like, oh yeah, there's more parts of New York we could just dive into. But to hear, maybe it's because I'm a West Coast, but does adding just Brooklyn and Queens really double the size of the map? Like,
You know
Oh,
how big
yeah,
Brooklyn and Queens are?
yeah.
like how big are those place sections?
They're
Have you
big
ever played?
sec-
Have you ever played GTA 4?
No.
It's like an entire different island. That's
Interesting.
my
Somebody
Okay,
who
good to
lives in
know.
New York, they're entirely different islands.
Yeah, it's like a whole.
Oh, it's part of the separate island. Okay, okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, so everything sounds good so far. I'm still gonna have to try to get used to Yuri Lowenthal trying to sound menacing as Venom, but
whenever
yeah.
I hear it, have you guys ever seen that clip from the original cartoon
With
where
Shocker.
yeah,
Shocker.
Shocker.
Shocker!
I'm
I'll
strongly
find
recommend
you.
watching it. If you haven't watched
You
it,
better
it
add
is
a
one of
moment like
the
that.
funniest things. It is so funny. I think Shocker's gonna be in this game, dude. I don't
He
know.
is. He
They
was
got it.
He is.
Oh,
He
he
was in the
is?
trailer.
He was in the first game, yeah.
Oh.
It was
Oh,
just
okay.
like
No,
one
it was in the
boss fight.
showcase when Craven got the data pad and they were showing like everybody in the
Oh,
city.
he was there.
Shocker
He was
popped
there.
up.
Oh,
There was a lot
yeah.
of there was a lot of villains in that selection list.
That just gets me so exciting. Yeah, and also the instantly switch between Peter and Miles. I've been predicting this for a while. It sounds a lot like GTA 5 in that regard, which another game I love. So that's always exciting to hear.
Yeah, but I'm just curious, like outside of story missions, like what does that really add? Because obviously, like as they showed in the PlayStation showcase, obviously Peter's busy, so Miles has to come in and do this part of this mission because it needs to get done. But
Oh
like when
yeah,
you're just doing like side missions and whatnot, like what is the point of switching between Peter and Miles? Like that's what I'm curious to see.
I
Maybe
read
just
about
like
it.
Miles more.
I read about it. It's Peter has his own side missions. Miles has his own side missions, and then
Oh, geez,
both
this
of
is about to
them
be a big
can
game.
do. Yeah,
That makes sense. Oh,
they
geez.
all got their own thing, and also when it comes to main stories, Insomniac dictates who you play. That's kind of
Yeah.
how they exemplified it. So
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't think
it
of that. Oh,
very much sounds like GTA 5 in that regard.
had fun
which
planning that, by the way.
Oh, dude, you kidding me? This is gonna be the most fun platinum of the year. Like Spider-Man's 2018. Everyone always complains about the crimes and whatnot. It's like, oh, they got repetitive. I never got tired of them. Just swinging in that world is so much fun.
Yeah, Spider-Man
like-
is one of my few platinums, and yeah, that was actually a good time.
Yeah, no, I'm out of this world excited. Do you guys what's it called? They said fall 2023. Do you guys believe the September rumors, or do you think they pushed it back?
Just a pack. If it was
I
September,
want to
they would have
believe in
announced it
September,
earlier.
but October just sounds more likely.
Yeah,
I
I'm
agree,
inclined
which
to believe
is
October.
good because more time for Starfield.
Yeah, honestly, that's
No, I
that's
want
gonna
the
be fun.
Starfield Spider-Man 2 rivalry. I want it so bad just for the toxicity. It
Oh
would be
god,
glorious.
you really want to deal with both fanboys like arguing on Twitter because that's just not gonna be a fun time.
Yes. I feed off their anger.
Moon is
I
toxic.
respect it. Yeah, bro, for real. All right, well that's it for all the big topics. Now we're gonna go through some of the smaller topics. First up, MGS3 details / reusing voice clips from the original game. This comes over Okami Games from Twitter for the first part. New interview from Konami for Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Remake. No involvement from Kojima. I thought that was pretty obvious. Developed by Konami internal devs alongside Virtuous. MGS3 was chosen since it's the birth of Big Boss hints at further remakes if there's enough demand. Also, one more thing I want to add, I read about this earlier. Apparently, the artist for Metal Gear as well, Yoji Shinkawa, the guy who does all the watercolor art, absolutely masterclass of an artist. He is also not involved with this remake. And as it regards for the voice acting, this comes over from Jay Peters over at The Verge. The Metal Gear Solid 3 remake will reuse the original game's voice lines with no changes. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the recently announced remake of MGS3 Snake Eater, will reuse the voice lines from the original game with no changes, according to Tommy Williams, Konami's head of communications from the Americas. So I guess I'm the big Metal Gear guy, me and Dark over here. So I guess I'll just start it off. I guess the voice clips thing, I saw that coming. I saw a chance of that coming. It's very disappointing, obviously. It just tells me this is going to be more of a remaster than a remake, which I'm not too upset about, but like I would have liked to see like more of a Capcom remake, but also since this is a Konami internally developed game, I don't know if they could reach the level of a Capcom remake in that regard. Dark, what about you?
It feels weird to like cut corners. It's like, unless I'm interpreting it wrong, right? I have nothing wrong if they just got the voice actors to react the lines with like modern equipment. Having these old lines with a new modern game, I feel like that feel weird. It's just like a very odd corner to cut with such a big title.
It is a weird thing, but we've gotten to a point with audio now because I don't know if any of you played the Destroy All Humans remakes, but they also reused all their audio, but they cleaned them up. They sound modern. Like you put that game in front of anybody, and it sounds like it was recorded the year that it came out. So it's definitely possible, but it's definitely there's definitely something within the video game acting, and me being a voice actor, maybe I notice it more, but the acting from a game from the early 2000s, because I think that's when the original Destroy All Humans came out, it was like 2002 or something like that. The acting of a 2002 game and a 2018 game, or 2020 or 2021, whenever the remake came out, there's such a vast, I don't want to say quality because they're still acting, but there's something about the deliveries and the writing that it just feels weird, but but in terms of quality, it still sounds good. But the acting, and I'm guessing it's going to be the same thing here. Like the acting is just going to feel weird. Like you're going to have all these cool modern visuals, but you're going to have the acting and the writing of a early 2000s game, which is just going to be a little off-putting and kind of weird mishmash.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I also heard that maybe they didn't want to re-voice them because like, oh, maybe the actors will sound different. Maybe a lot of the actors aren't available, but like, I doubt that it would be that difficult to get all those actors again, for a remake of this size. I'm assuming this is going to be a very big remake. This is a big deal for Konami. It's the return of Metal Gear since Metal Gear Survive, and we know how that game worked out. And I guess, Dark, I also wanted to really ask you about the hints at future remakes if there's enough demand. I mean, do you think there's any truth to that statement?
I mean, it's the way that that's phrased is really weird because it's very obvious that there's a demand for these games to be remade. But there's also
Exactly what I
begs the
thought.
question: if they're cutting corners with 3, and 3 is arguably like one of the best in the series, how are they gonna handle some of like the other titles?
And when I tell you, like everyone was like, "Man, I'm surprised they didn't do 2 first." I am so happy they didn't do 2 first. 2 is my favorite. 2 is like,
It wouldn't have made any sense to do 2 first.
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like just in general, like they were like, "Oh, why don't they do 1, 2, 3?" I'm like, I'm kind of happy they're starting with 3 because I don't want them to touch 2. I love 2 so much, man. It's just I don't know, especially with MGS1. Like if you remade that, like you're gonna reuse voice lines from the PS1 game. Like that just feels weird.
That's gonna be atrocious.
Yeah.
The just saying of like, oh, we'll do more remakes if there's demand for it. That's just a that's just a dog whistle of please buy this game.
Yeah, really.
Because that can be said about just any game releasing. It's like, hey, you want Spider-Man 3, you better buy Spider-Man 2. So it's just obviously a marketing ploy of like, oh, we know you guys want it, but you guys have to show that you want it by buying this game. So
This
that
seems redundant
statement
with a
really means
title
nothing.
size.
Yeah, exactly. And also the developed by Konami internal devs, alongside Virtuous. That was pretty much confirmed a while back, but it's just good to get some full confirmation there. I guess that's it for the MGS3 remake. I'm excited for it. You guys think it's next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it next
Yeah.
year.
It's like a spring next year kind of game before all the summer. It's because it's a smaller. Granted, we're calling it
Agreed.
like big remake, but it's in terms of it being a release, it's probably on like the smaller side. They're not. It's not going to be a big summer release title.
Agreed. Next up, Netflix's AAA game. Benji Sales had a pretty good like kind of overview of what we know about this AAA game. Basically, staff is looking like we got Joseph Staten. Obviously, we know him from Halo over at Xbox. Raf Grassetti, who worked on God of War at PlayStation. Chaco Sonny, executive producer of Overwatch. That is the most terrifying thing. And then Jerry Edsel, who worked on Gears 4 and 5. And apparently it's going to be a new IP, multi-platform, new world with deep, mysterious, and endless adventures, whatever that means.
The most generic statement ever.
And also
Exactly.
MMO.
Yeah, no, that's the kind of the big theory at the moment. What do you guys think this game is going to be? I with Dark, I think it's an MMO.
Yeah, an MMO.
MMO makes sense. It just sounds like right up Netflix's alley of like, we're gonna make a game, and it's gonna be a game that you can play on our platform, and it's gonna be you can play with all your other Netflix friends, and it's gonna be like a monthly cost thing. It's gonna be some kind of like MMO live service kind of thing because gotta make that money. And you know what they're gonna do is they're gonna add it on to a Netflix plan. So like here's your like monthly Netflix fee, but add this game on, so you get all these like bonuses in your game. Like they're gonna just have another tier to Netflix.
That's what's confusing to me. It's multi-plat, so it's going to be on the Netflix app. Currently, you can only play Netflix games on your phone. So, is this a mobile game? Like,
gotta
are
be.
they gonna? I don't even understand.
It's gonna
what
be
this would be.
they're probably looking at like Genshin and Honkai, where they're like, here's
Oh,
this
yeah,
game
good
that you
point.
can cross play between a console and a mobile. And granted, they look good. You can almost consider them AAA games. So yeah, it's gonna be something of a MMO gotcha live service as like game that can be played on both consoles and on mobile. And it's
None of those
yeah.
words are in the Bible.
Exactly. I just said like every evil word in the gaming industry right now.
That was horrific.
We gotta talk about the fact that they have somebody from Overwatch there. Like this game is doomed
Yeah,
from the start.
that's what I said. This game's done, dude.
Wait, what did he do on Overwatch?
Executive producer.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Bro had a high up plan. Like, dog, what did you do over there? Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming we're not gonna see this game for a while now. Like, probably 2026 at the earliest, if I were to take a guess.
Probably 2025, depending on when they started. They never mentioned like how soon did they start.
Yeah, good point.
The Raf Grassetti guy just left Santa Monica like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I thought you said he just left the team. It's like
breaking news.
Santa Monica a couple weeks ago, so I can't see this being super far along. So I think it's a couple years away.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I forgot about that news story. Thanks for bringing it up. Anyways, next news story. This comes over from Jordan Midler over at VGC. Cyberpunk's director and other former CD Projekt Red studios form new studio blank. Not much to say here. I'm going to butcher this name. Matusis Panik, game director of Cyberpunk 2077 and co-game director of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, as well as Witcher and Cyberpunk executive producers. I'm not going to read these names. You can read the article. I'm going to butcher them. I'm just going to tell you guys right now. But Cyberpunk executive producers, two guys, have formed Blank, a new game studio based in Warsaw, Poland. Not really much else to say there. Just thought it was a pretty interesting news story, especially after Cyberpunk's very big launch, for lack of a better term. Hopefully it's good. I don't know if you guys have much to say about it.
I wish him the best of luck and a much better launch than Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
It just tells me they didn't want to work on Witcher.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, no, like forget this. We're gonna go make our own studio, make something else.
And speaking of Witcher, Witcher 3 has now entered the top 10 selling games of all time. This comes over at Okami Games over at Twitter. Top 10 selling games of all time with over 50 million units sold. It's now sold more copies than the original Super Mario Brothers, and is just shy of Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, when the game's constantly on sale, it's not too shocking. It's a big zeitgeist game. People love it. Yeah, not much else to say. Just
Really, the big news to me there is how much Red Dead Redemption 2 sold.
oh, dude, it's a Rockstar game. Those games sell insane.
GTA
just the
makes sense
logo.
because of like GTA Online and all that, but I don't know.
Red Dead, that logo, man. If you put the Rockstar logo on something, like even my non-gamer friends talked to me about Red Dead Redemption 2 when that came out. Like it was a big deal.
We should put the Rockstar logo on our podcast.
Hey, I mean that's the plans. Anyways, next story, guys. I was just thinking about one of my favorite game directors, Yuji Naka. And we just got the report. This comes James Troughton over at The Gamer. Sonic creator Yuji Naka gets over 2 years in prison. Sonic the Hedgehog creator Yuji Naka was arrested in November of last year for insider trading, and after pleading guilty in March, has been sentenced to prison for 2.5 years. As reported by Denfan Miniko Gamer.Japan, Naka was also fined for 2.5 million yen and 170 million yen. However, his defense is seeking to lower these numbers. I mean, Yuji Naka, what a guy. I don't. 2 years in prison.
Honestly, I think it should be longer for Balin. I mean, I wish him all the best. Hopefully he survives. So,
I mean,
he's gonna make a sequel to Shadow the Hedgehog.
I mean, just imagine you're sitting in prison, you're regretting all your life choices, and then it's like, hey, you got to do cellmate, and then just the creator of Sonic walks in. Like, what do you do in that situation?
He's like, oh, I made Sonic. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
We're cool. Oh, that's what you're in for. Okay.
That's actually gonna be really interesting. Like once he's out in like 3 years, he's gonna come out with like a statement saying, "So while I was in prison, I came up with a new idea for a game."
Like, so we shadowed the Hedgehog too. We are not ready for this.
Next
perfect. Shadow's gonna be a hardened criminal.
Next news story: KOTOR 2 restored content DLC is canceled. This comes over from Aspire Media over on Twitter. We'd like to thank the KOTOR community for their immense passion and support for the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic series. That passion allowed us to bring this timeless series to the Nintendo Switch, and we are forever grateful. Sadly, today we are announcing that the restored content DLC for the Nintendo Switch version of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, will not be moving forward for release. We'd like to thank everyone for their continued support by providing a complimentary video game key to players that purchased Star Wars KOTOR 2, The Sith Lords on Nintendo Switch before this announcement. This is one of the least surprising news stories. I feel like this game has been, this DLC, they announced it, they just didn't say anything on it for like over a year, and now it's just officially canceled. Dark, I know you actually played KOTOR 2. How did this make you feel?
Yeah, if you followed the situation even a little bit, you saw this coming from a mile away. It is cool that they are giving people who bought the game before this announcement like a free code for all of those games that they listed if you haven't played those. But yeah, we saw it coming.
Yeah,
What'd you get?
Aspire's in a rough spot, but I'm also glad to get a free game. So,
What'd you guys redeem?
I'm going
Episode
for
1
the Force
Racer.
Unleashed.
Force Unleashed and what did you say?
Episode 1 Racer.
Oh, nice. Good choices. Force Unleashed is a great game. And now final news story for the day. Street Fighter 6 concurrent players smashing records. This comes over from Benji Sales over on Twitter. Street Fighter 6 has just smashed the all-time concurrent players of every Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or Tekken game on Steam. This was from June 2nd, which was today. Okay, thanks me. Earlier today, all-time peak Street Fighter 6, 64,000 plus. And then the second place was MK11 at 35,147. So that's pretty much almost double MK11's concurrent players, like all-time concurrent peak. And then just now, like about like an hour ago, Benji Sales also posted on Twitter, Street Fighter 6 has climbed to even higher tonight, becoming the first paid / non-free-to-play fighting game ever to reach 70K plus concurrent players on Steam. By far the biggest launch ever on PC for a paid fighting game. Looks like this is performing tremendously well for Capcom. Great news all around. I mean, I think it's official. The era of Cap God is back. Capcom has been absolutely killing it. Bench and Dark, I know both of you have been playing Street Fighter 6. How you guys feel about this news?
It's excellent. I mean, Street Fighter 6 is great, and 9 hours in, that's great. I mean, Capcom has to be the best publisher developer in the business currently, and I can't see it not staying that way for many years to come if they keep up the pace that they're going. I mean, like 90+ games in like 3 months, all very quality. I mean, I don't think you can get better than this. And Street Fighter 6 is just incredible, especially for someone who's never played a fighting game.
Dirk, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. Like Capcom is, I feel like they're near untouchable right now. Like in terms of quality and what they're capable of doing.
Yeah, no,
Exo
Capcom.
Primal
I-
wants to come out.
Yeah, Exo Primal. Now that's gonna be Cap God. That's gonna
That's
be
gonna
the
be their
real
real
test.
test.
Yeah, I
Game's
mean,
gonna do amazing. I'm telling you.
Like, I think it's
Yeah,
gonna be
I
a
mean-
perfectly fine game. I think it's actually gonna be pretty good, but it's just gonna lose steam real fast.
I'll be honest. One thing I'm shocked about how many more players this has than Mortal Kombat. Like Mortal Kombat is Mortal freaking Kombat. That's always been, aside from Smash, the biggest fighting game. So
It's also crazy
honestly,
these numbers are Steam only, and it makes you really think
yeah,
like just how many of those are on console as well. Because like I think Steam has more of a, I don't want to say like niche, but more it's like the gamer kind of crowd on Steam, whereas the more casuals will be buying it more on Xbox and PlayStation. So I'm curious to see if this game has reached more of like the gamer crowd than the casuals. So I'm really curious to check out those numbers if they ever give out like how many sold on like Xbox and PlayStation, just to compare.
I mean,
I
I don't
think
know
I
if we'll
think
get
both.
platform-specific details, but I expect to hear how much it sold pretty soon. I don't
Yeah,
think
probably
we'll
in the
keep
next
quiet
month.
about that. Sometime, yeah, pretty soon.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. All we got for news for this week. But we got a topic of the show. We got a big topic. Summer Games Fest is going to be happening soon, June 8th. If I'm correct, that is correct. I'm assuming that's correct. We are going to be doing predictions. This is actually going to be a lot more different than our Sony predictions. We didn't come here like 333 because with Summer Games Fest, you can't really predict it. Jeff Keighley, he's a madman. The dude can just get whatever he wants or whatever he can't get. He just says, fuck it. Right now, confirmed games, there's probably more, but like this is the confirmed games we have right now. Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay, which we all kind of assumed would probably be there. Alan Wake 2 gameplay, I'm actually really excited to see more of that. Pal World, Moon, I know you know this one. Can you remind me what Pal World is?
So Pal World looks like when you're scrolling across Twitter and Reddit and someone makes an animation of what like an adult Pokemon game would be like with like
Oh,
slavery and murder and bombs and terrorist attacks and all that. And it's just the weirdest looking thing. It looks like a shitpost. Like you would think someone just spent a day or two in Blender making this animation, and then you come to find out it's an actual real game, which I still don't believe. We're gonna watch this gameplay next week, and I'm like, this is still not a real game. This is just a really long shitpost, and it's crazy to me that this is somehow gonna be a functional game. Because I think what's really hurting me, I don't know what hurting is the correct word, but what's really putting me off about this game because I follow their Twitter account. And every time they post something, it does look like an animation made in Blender. There's no UI or anything. Like it doesn't look like gameplay clips. It looks like animation. So I'm hoping to see in this actual gameplay reveal that, or whatever they're showing at Summer Game Fest, it looks like an actual game with like a UI and characters moving around. Because right now, all we see, if you were to go watch, I think there's like 2 trailers out on YouTube or any of the clips on their Twitter account, it just looks like animation. Like they're making a movie more than they're making a game. So it's gonna be weird to see this thing actually be real, I guess.
Yeah, man, it's enough for Jeff Keighley's toast. That's something.
Jim Keighley will
and then-
take literally anything.
Yeah, really. And then last thing, Cyberpunk DLC, which I'm honestly a little surprised that's going to be here, but it's not too crazy. They have a pretty close relationship, CD Projekt Red and Keighley. But because we can't, it's going to be difficult to predict. I just put out a list of games. You guys just let me know, like, if you have much to discuss, if it's going to be there, if it's not. Just that, as simple as that. I'll tell you first, one thing that's not going to be there for sure. Anything from Konami, because that is the only company Jeff will shit talk on Twitter. So there's no way that relationship is done. I'll just say that off the bat. And then I guess now I'll go into it. I guess just immediately. PlayStation, Microsoft, Nintendo, first party. Anything from the big guys?
No, it's
Damn.
Keighley is just wrangling whatever third party smaller AA companies he can find with the occasional third-party company that's like a big well-known name, but it's always like their secondary lineup game of the year. It's not their big release. Like I could see like Exoprimal being here, being maybe like they'll announce like some future plans, but of course it's not going to be like one of their Capcom's big games. It's going to be one of their secondary lines, like Exoprimal.
Next up, Death Stranding 2. I think this has a
Nah.
chance.
I think it has
This
a
is like
chance.
given.
Keely and Kojima have a very strong relationship. To
They're
say the
practically
least.
married.
Lightly. Exactly. I think
Yeah,
if there's one game you can count on being there, it's probably Death Stranding.
I mean, probably the biggest chance. I don't know about like fully 100%. It might be a little early, but like I hope it's there. Death Stranding 1 is amazing. Next is Armored Core 6. I mean, it's 2 months off from release. I think it'll be there.
Possible because it doesn't seem like PlayStation or Xbox have locked in the marketing rights for this game, so it could be here.
I think Armored
Next,
Core.
go ahead, Bench. Sorry.
I think Armored Core could be here. I mean, it launches in August, so show it off to the wider audience now.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. What about the Elden Ring DLC?
No, I think that's a Game Awards thing because it's not until next year, anyways.
Really? You think it's not until next year?
Oh yeah, because I don't know if this is true or not, but there was a rumor going around that at one point Elden Ring's DLC was 2 things, and now they're just making it one big thing. So if that is true, but even if it's not true, I think it's next year.
Bench, I'll tell
I
you
think it's
this.
going to be pretty big.
They released both DLCs for Dark Souls 3 in the same year.
Yeah.
FromSoft are very efficient. I think it is
No.
this year.
I want to add on to that. We haven't seen an expansion from them. Like the DLCs weren't an expansion. They say this is a full-blown expansion, which to me is like much larger than a typical DLC. So I don't know what's
guess.
going on.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to be pretty ambitious, but I also don't think it's until next year. Which means it's fine because they have Armored Core 6 in August. There's no need to rush it out or anything.
Yeah, true. I hope it's good. That's all I care about, and it's gonna be good. This is like one of my most anticipated games right now. Hades 2. I don't think it's here.
No, I
that's-
think
that feels
that's,
more like a Game Awards.
That's
Agreed.
something you like have the Game Awards and say early access available now or something like that, or sign up for it. I don't think that's here.
Agreed. Silk Song. No.
Xbox seems to have that marketing deal. So
I put
it'll
this
be
one
at
as
the
a
showcase.
I put this next one as a joke. GTA 6.
No.
Oh.
Imagine that. That'd be hilarious.
Rockstar is like, we are Rockstar. We will do our own events. Screw you, Keely.
Exactly. Yeah, they're gonna do. It's just gonna be a Twitter trailer. That's what they did for 5. That's what they did for RDR2. It's just how they always do it.
Oh, that's gonna be a fun week on this podcast when they just randomly Twitter drop GTA 6.
Oh, I'm gonna be rented for an hour, bro. I can't wait. Metal Slug Tactics.
I hope so.
This
I
has
want
a
that
good
game so
chance.
bad.
Same.
It's been a
Well, it
year
has a
or
good chance
two.
because it was revealed at Summer Game Fest like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I think it'll be here as well.
Better be here. I want that game already.
Okay, I'm gonna say a name that you guys probably forgot about. Skate.
No.
It's possible EA could see this as their outlet if they don't have anything going on with PlayStation or Xbox. They could see this as their one summer. The only thing is, like, when does this game come out? That's like the big question. If this game is out this fall, then yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good chance. But if it's not coming out anytime soon, it's not going to be here.
This is also
Skate's
like a
next
live
year.
service thing, right?
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Live service Skate. Ugh.
Well, it's like, I think it's a live service. I think it's like free to play and stuff.
Yeah, you're right. I remember reading about that.
Oh, that's the other evil word I forgot to mention earlier during the Netflix discussion. It needs to be free to play.
Oh, joyous me. Another EA thing, Dragon Age.
No, Jeff Grubb
No.
said on his podcast on the first Game Mess Decides that this is not even considering this year, summer next year, or past that, and he does not think it'll be there. So I do not think it'll be there.
Agreed.
Seems too far out.
Persona 5T.
No.
This is the rumored Persona 5 game.
Normally, I would have
don't even
said
know
no,
what
but
it's
after
for.
what happened today with the trademark, I think it's possible,
Can you
but not a
explain the
high
trademark real quick?
possibility.
I believe Xbox does this.
Yeah. What?
Okay, so it was a trademark of the name.
Yeah, it was like an update to the trademark, and from past Persona releases and other Persona related or Atlas related things, when something happens with the trademark, a reveal is usually right around the corner.
I think it's an
Time
Xbox.
splitters.
Xbox to have, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
No,
agree with
I don't think Time Splitters is here.
I forgot there was a new Time Splitters.
I actually looked
mean-
a little bit ago, and it's been about 2 years since the announcement. So I don't.
I forgot there was
still
an
don't think it'll be
announcement.
here.
I think it'll be revealed this year, but I don't think it's going to be at Keighley. Maybe
Mhm.
Gamescom. It feels like a Gamescom thing where Keighley's like, guys, this is going to change your lives, and it's fucking Time Splitters. We mentioned this earlier, Exo Primal. I think it
Oh
has
yeah,
a chance.
I didn't even realize you put that on the list. But yeah, Exo Primal feels like a game. Granted, they've shown off pretty much everything. Like if they do show off, it's gonna be either just like a sizzle reel just to remind people, or it's gonna be like some kind of showing of like, here's our post-launch plans. So it's gonna be something like that, or it's just not gonna show up at all. Granted, I feel like they're gonna want to push it because Capcom is gonna want to push this thing. It's gonna be their moneymaker. It's their live service game, but also because I don't know. Maybe it could show up at Xbox because it is. I don't know if you guys remember, but this is going to be on Game Pass, so
Yeah, I
Xbox
think
might
it's
even push
Xbox.
this.
I think it's going to be Xbox. Eternites. This is for you, man.
I want to say yes because, I don't know. Has there ever really been a very anime-like game at Summer Game Fest before? I don't feel. I
Oh,
feel
yeah, for
plus, has there?
Yeah,
But
Jeff Keighley's a known Naruto fan. He's not. I'm just
Okay.
joking.
But it was revealed at a PlayStation State of Play, so I'm assuming PlayStation has some kind of marketing thing with it because it's only releasing on Steam and PlayStation. It's not coming to Switch. It's not coming to Xbox. So the fact that it wasn't at the showcase means this is either going to get Twitter dropped or this game's a lot farther out than we originally thought.
Yeah, agreed. Lies of P.
No, this will be at the Xbox showcase because it's on Game
I
Pass.
agree.
Oh, it's Game Pass. I forgot. Oh, dude, it's Game Pass. Hell yeah.
I know. I'm gonna play my first Souls. It's gonna be Lies of P.
Oh man, I can't wait for you to bash on my favorite genre. Arc 2.
No,
Vin
this is
Diesel
so
game.
far out.
Because
No.
isn't that game for like just got rescheduled for like 2025?
It got revealed for at a Game Awards, but I don't think it will be here.
It's too far
early.
away though.
Alone in the Dark.
I'm gonna say no just because we got that highlight thing from THQ Nordic.
Either of the new Yakuza games.
No,
have their
because
own event,
RGG
though, right?
has their event.
Possibly
But
the
back
one
to Arc.
the spin-off one.
I think they could maybe show off their remaster that they're charging for again with all the DLC again.
Again.
If Arc does show up,
Oh,
I
you're
think
talking
that's
about
what they'd
Arc?
show. Yeah, about Arc, their remaster of the game.
We're talking about
That
Yakuza.
That was 2 games ago, Bench. Keep up, man.
Yeah, then give me a good time to intervene.
Payday 3.
Possible. I just don't know how far in development they are and if they've even scheduled like here's when we plan to release it. So I would have to take
That's
that into
silent.
consideration.
I feel like that silence there was deafening. Payday. That game does not exist. Stalker 2.
Nah, that'll be at Xbox.
Nah,
Xbox.
To where that? Yeah, that was
'Cause
Stellar
that's
Blade.
no.
No, that seems to
Love it.
be being handled by PlayStation.
Suicide Squad.
No.
Too early.
That'll be at
Rise
the
of the
Game
Ronin?
Awards because they'll be
Sorry.
within a couple months of release because now they have that new February date. That's gonna be at the Game Awards. They're gonna show
Okay,
off like,
okay.
okay, here's what we changed, and it's gonna be like one thing.
It's gonna be the exact same.
Watch the Elden Ring DLC come out on the same day.
Oh, dude, you know what everyone's gonna be doing then.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Rise of the Ronin.
No.
No, it's too far away.
That's a PlayStation.
And yeah, PlayStation 2.
Tekken 8.
Yes.
Possible.
I think that's here.
Probably.
They're gonna show
50-50.
At least a fighter reveal, but I could see them going a little more deeper than that. Since I don't think they're going to give a date. I think that's still next year, but I think we see a little more than a fighter reveal. Because
I think it's just gonna be a
post-fighter.
fighter reveal. I can see like Harada coming out on stage or something, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And then
maybe
finally,
a beta reveal, because I think that was rumored recently.
oh yeah, I hope so. I really want to play Tekken 8, man. Then the final game I have on the list, The Wolf Among Us 2.
I don't know what that is.
It got delayed.
Yeah, it got
That game is in the
delayed, so I don't
trenches.
think it's coming out anytime soon because of that delay. If it stuck
Yeah.
with its original date of I think it was supposed to be like later this year, then yeah, I would say it's possible. But That it's got the delay. Nah, that could be in a Game Awards thing though.
And then just a random prediction. Do you guys think The Rock will come back?
Nah,
No,
Probably not.
he doesn't have anything to promote
Do
currently.
you guys think the Game Awards kid there will be a joke about him?
no. Jeff seemed pretty
I don't
mad
know.
whenever
Yeah,
that was
He
brought up
seems
on a recent
angry.
podcast.
He's genuinely.
Wait,
that
did I
was
miss
like
something?
the darkest moment. I think he was on a podcast recently. He talked about the Game Awards kid, right, Bench?
Yeah, and the Skill Ups podcast with Lucy James, the
Yeah, Friends
completionist,
for a Second.
and Jake Baldino. Yeah, and Skill Up asked him about it, and it was like his face like dead and was very angry about it. You could tell.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
Rock
that
was
just
angry.
go ahead,
Jeff.
Dirk.
This kid just might spawn up there because he just appears every
He literally,
That's
dude,
fucking
I see
shit.
him everywhere. I don't know what is up with him.
He
I
might be
guess
there.
any last second predictions for Summer Games Fest? I mean, we don't really know much else about it. Just
Yeah, it's gonna be
anything.
just a lot of. That's kind of like what the kind of cool part of Summer Game Fest right now is because he gets so many random, nobody's heard of companies revealing their games, or maybe just smaller
True.
companies that you haven't thought about in a while. Like, oh, here's their new game. So it's kind of cool in that regard because you're gonna get like a fill in of something not from all the big three. So it's kind of cool in that regard.
I mean, I'm gonna check it out. I don't have many expectations. The big show is definitely gonna be the Xbox show the week after, and
Yeah.
that's gonna be the big one we're gonna all be talking about. We're gonna have predictions very similar to how we did PlayStation with the 333. But yeah, that's about it for the Summer Games Fest. Sorry, go ahead, Bench.
Oh, never mind. You can go.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that's it for Summer Games Fest. We're actually gonna move right into what we've been playing. I guess we'll start. Me and Bench, we just finished Zelda recently. Bench, how about you go first?
It is my favorite game of all time, and I think the best game of all time. I don't have a lot of words to describe how good it was, but I beat it in around 90 hours, and it was excellent. How about you, Wolf?
I'm gonna add context real quick to what he said about it's being his favorite game of all time. He said the same thing about God of War Ragnarok, and then just gave up on that after like 2 months. So just don't get used to this, okay? I'll just say that immediately.
I don't think much has shifted. Zelda was truly special.
Yeah, I mean, I hope you're right. I guess for me, I love this game. It's definitely the best game I played this year for sure. I don't know about my favorite game of all time, but like it's easily like I think just the creativity, the allowance, like Ultra Hand alone is just one of the best abilities in any video game. I'm gonna be thinking about that just in my daily life. I was at Target the other day. I saw the big red balls outside, and I wanted to fuse them together so badly. I was like, damn it, get out of my head, Zelda. But I guess, I mean, it's just the fuse mechanic as well. Like just fusing random shit to your weapons is so much fun. And I get it's just one of those games I'm going to be thinking about a lot. And also, I beat it after about 150 hours. I filled out the Hyrule Compendium, which that took a long
Sick.
time. I'm a sick man. And I did all the shrines, all the light roots, all that crap.
Yeah, I did
It's
all
just
the shrines and light roots.
It's just an addicting game. It's one of those games that's really hard to put down. I think I'm ready to put it down though. I feel like Thanos walking into the sunset after I finished that Hyrule Compendium, because that was definitely the thing that took the most amount of time. Maybe one day I'll go for all the Korok seeds if I really truly am a sick man. Dark, what about you, man? You've been playing KOTOR 2, correct?
I beat and played through both KOTOR 1 and 2 from the last week, and man, they are both fucking instant classics. And then, like, with the hindsight now of having played these games and knowing everything that's going on in Embracer, it's just sad to see. But yeah, those games are utterly incredible, and if you guys haven't played it, I recommend giving it a chance. Some of the best Star Wars stories told, in my opinion.
You said the combat's very similar to Xenoblade. We were talking about it.
Yes, it's like a mixture of Dragon Age 1 and Xenoblade 1, where you kind of the game like auto attacks for you, but you do like special command inputs, and the characters will do that. And the AI, your companions and AI will automatically attack as well.
Nice. I mean, hey, I've always wanted to get through the KOTOR games, but like, how long are they?
Like 25 to 30 hours, and this is with me doing nearly 100% of all the content I could within that route, because there's the light and dark side route, so things change per route. But I did nearly everything on both sides. And yeah, it's around that time.
You go dark side.
I went off the light side.
Ah, you're so boring.
I'm doing a dark side playthrough next, but I want
Okay,
to get through the
good.
stories first.
I respect it. And also Bench and Dark, both of you have been playing Street Fighter 6. How's that going?
And fucking incredible. They haven't missed.
Yeah, it's just amazing.
I wish the roster was bigger. It feels small, in my opinion. It could just be me.
Yeah, but I feel like this game is going to be supported for quite a while, so they're going to have multiple season packs.
Yeah, I miss a lot of the old legacy characters. But besides
As
that,
someone
I'm sure
who's
we'll have a lot of them, and I'm pretty sure each pack is probably going to be like split 50-50 of like old characters and new characters.
not the first season pass. From what I'm aware,
No.
in the first season pass, there's only one legacy character, and he's coming at the very end of the season pass, which is next
But yeah,
year.
it's a Kuma,
so,
right?
Yeah, someone, and this is my first big fighting game I'm getting into, and I'm just having a blast. I mean, it's just really fun, really good. It's going to be something I play for a very long time and just pick up and play off and on, but it'll keep me busy for the next week until I go on vacation.
Yeah, man. The way you guys talk about Street Fighter is kind of how I want to talk about Tekken. I cannot fucking wait for that game. I mean, I always, like I said, I've talked about this. I respect the hell out of Street Fighter. It's just not for me. I'm not the biggest fan of like those 2D-esque fighting games. But I had the temptation to grab it, but I'm like, nah, I know I'm not going to get invested in it the way that a lot of other people are. But yeah, and also, as you guys know, Diablo 4 is going to be coming out very soon. You can actually play it now if you bought the $100 edition. I'm going to be playing the game when it comes out, like for everyone. I think next Tuesday, so I'll have thoughts on that game about next week's podcast. I'm really excited to check it out. It's going to be my first Diablo. Moon, Persona 4 Golden.
Yeah, I actually put in a lot of hours this past couple weeks. It's like a lot more than I usually do. So I am now on the well, I can't say in case of spoilers because Bench I know hasn't played and whoever else might. But I'm at the killer's dungeon, so I won't say his or her name. But the overall killer. So anyone who's played knows I'm on their dungeon. But yeah, I've been enjoying it a lot. Like I'm actually now starting to see why some people prefer Persona 4 over Persona 5. There's definitely something to the story and the characters where Persona 5 is a much grander scale, almost like you almost want to compare them to like Marvel movies where there's some movies where the story is much more focused on a much smaller problem, like just a town or a city or a state or whatever. And then you have the other Marvel movies which are like world-ending events. So Persona 5 feels like a big, large scale, like Avengers type problem, whereas Persona 4 feels like a like almost like an
Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. It's a
Yeah.
like an Ant-Man problem. So it kind of, I guess it kind of depends on which one you like more. But and the characters are also really well written, so you enjoy their company. And there are some things that are better at Persona 4, like the interactions between some characters. Like there was almost never interactions in the Persona 5 cast outside of the main story. So that was kind of left out. So I do kind of wish Persona 5 had that. But some better things they did do better in Persona 5, like the combat's a lot better. Um, Light and Dark, like this is my biggest gripe right now, is Light and Dark is restricted strictly to the instant kill moves in Persona 4, whereas in 5, they're actual moves. So that took some time to get used to.
Yeah.
And of course the procedural dungeons are never fun. So obviously Persona 5 did that better. So it's a lot of like column A, column B thing. Like now that I finally have played 4, if you say Persona 4 is your favorite Persona, I'll totally get it. But there's just something about 5. Maybe it's because it was my first one that I hold more dear to me. So, but I will totally respect anyone who says Persona 4 is better now. Like I just thought it was a nostalgia thing at first, but I totally get it now.
I mean, Persona 5 is like your favorite game of all time, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to top. I mean, I know I recently beat Persona 4 as well this year. I absolutely loved it. Those procedural dungeons are really difficult to get used to. Are they giving you any trouble in that regard? Like, is it like actively
It's not
making
trouble,
you
it's
not
just
want to play the game?
annoying. It's just annoying because especially there was 2 dungeons where they did the exact same thing back to back where you get to like the 6th floor and they're like, "Oh, you have to go find this key down on the 4th floor." I'm like, "Oh, okay, so now I have to go run back." But of course, even going backwards, even if you're still on the same run, you haven't left the dungeon, it still randomly randomizes it again. So even though you go back to the 5th floor and you're like, "Okay, I'll just make my way through the map." where I just came from. Like, no, they just randomized it all again. So that was annoying because you had to go basically through 2 new levels of the dungeon. And then once you get the key, you have to go back up to the 6th floor and do it all again. Because they randomized the floors again. So that was annoying, especially because they did it in back-to-back dungeons. And then one thing that they also improved from Persona 4 to Persona 5 was, I did not know this, no one told me about this, but a lot of the side character social links are tied to like your part-time jobs.
Oh yeah.
Like, I did not know this, and so I missed out on a lot of characters. Like, I have a lot of 1s and 2s right now because it wasn't until like just this last week where I'm like almost at Christmas, where I'm just now starting to start a lot of these social links. So that's kind of annoying. And probably the weirdest one to me was, you don't get the character her social link unless you do the sports guys. Like, I ignored them for quite a while, and I just started doing them randomly. Suddenly I get introduced to this other character who is not only another social link but another love interest possibility. So I'm like, damn, why are all these characters so hidden?
Yeah, I that's another thing I noticed. It is actually a bit harder to get the social links in comparison to 5. That's one thing that I'm
Yeah,
glad they
with
kind of
5, there's only
streamlined.
like maybe like 1 or 2 that you could kind of miss. Everyone else is introduced in the story. Like, the only one I could think of in 5 that you can fully miss is the politician.
Yeah, Yoshida.
Yeah, I still need to do
Best
him.
one as well.
What's that?
Yoshida's the best confidant in P5 as well.
That's what I hear.
You
I
can
need to
miss
check him
the
out.
kid
'Cause
in
I,
the
I love Yoshida.
arcade.
I want to
think.
do a platinum trophy run in Persona 5 eventually.
Yeah, no, I love we're all big Persona fans in this podcast, so if you don't like Persona, I'm
We
sorry.
apologize. Actually, we don't
Yeah.
apologize. Go play Persona.
Yeah, go play Persona. That's all it is. And I think that's pretty much it. Like, I guess if you guys have any other games you were interested in talking about, but
No, I'm still
we're good.
side playing Proteus every once in a while, and I did beat finally Coffee Talk 2 and Planet of Lana. I had an early day back from work, and so I just plowed through those games, and yeah, it's just I didn't really like
Not
Planet of
much to
Lana.
say.
Those environmental puzzle side scroller games just do nothing for me. So I struggled through that. Coffee Talk 2, I liked it, but at the same time, it's like, why is this a video game? Why aren't you writing an animated series to post like on YouTube or
Yeah.
something? Because it's literally, you just read. It's a book. Write a book. Make it a TV show or something. It's like anything but a game, because literally all you're doing in the game is every once in a while you will make someone a cup of coffee. And of course, you
Hey,
have to
I
play
mean,
through this game like multiple times. I think like 3 or 4 times to get all the trophies or achievements.
yeah,
Like,
that's
damn.
frustrating.
So,
Those really are. I respect those games.
yeah,
But
it's
they're
like
just
I
not my
respected that from a writing standpoint because it was really well written. I like all the characters, but it's just not a good game as a game.
thing. Yeah. I guess that's it for all what we've been playing. Moon, I'm gonna actually hand it right back to you to handle the outro.
Yeah, there we go. So we're actually almost on time. We're only a little 12 minutes over. We actually finished the news actually straight up at an hour, and so we've just been talking the last 12 minutes about what we've been playing. So that's pretty good. We're getting more into what we set out to do with this podcast, is to make it around an hour. But of course, we decided to start with the big prediction part of the year to start. So of course, obviously everything was overrun. But this size episode, this like hour 13, is probably what we aim for in the future with normal episodes. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. As Wolf said at the beginning, make sure to follow on YouTube and Spotify, like, comment. All those help those beautiful algorithms that we have to deal with as content creators. So look forward to next week with our Xbox prediction podcast. And Fusion will not be here, as we said, because he is slacking off and being a part of the podcast. But also, Bench will be joining him in the slacking off next week as well.
No, I'll
But
be
in all
here
seriousness,
No, next week he's here.
oh, next
It's the
week.
week
Okay,
after.
so you're not Slacker just yet.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Like and
but in all
subscribe.
seriousness, I hope you two have nice vacations because it is summer. But we may have some people on during those times as replacements. We'll see. No guarantees just yet. But yeah, look forward to next week's episode. It should be another big one with the Xbox predictions. Everyone say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Have a good one, everybody.